And we can begin this examination by looking at a family of torts called the business torts, sometimes called interference with economic advantage. And by far the most important of these is the tort known as misrepresentation. Sometimes it's called fraud, sometimes it's called deceit. But I'm going to call this tort misrepresentation, using a more generic name for it. This tort can be defined in terms of 4 essential elements. I'm going to list them, and then we're going to go back and discuss each of them in turn. The first element, a false representation. Second element, fault. Third element, plaintiff's justified reliance. And fourth element, damage. So let's examine each of these essential elements in turn and review them a little bit. The first element, a false representation. What is a representation? A representation is an assertion of material fact which is made for the purpose of inducing the plaintiff's reliance. That's really a mouthful, and we're going to have to analyze each of those words in turn. So a false representation is a false assertion of material fact made for the purpose of inducing the plaintiff's reliance. What do we mean by false? False simply means not true. So, a false assertion is an assertion that is not true. What do we mean by assertion? An assertion is a statement of some kind, a communication of some kind. Usually, an assertion is made with words, but you have read or you will read lots of cases in which plaintiffs argued that an assertion was made without words. An assertion can be made non-verbally through conduct. We all know that a nod of the head means yes. We all know that a thumbs up sign may mean yes. These are a way of making assertions without words. I might make an assertion without words by turning back the odometer on the car I'm trying to sell. The car actually has 99,000 miles, and I adjust the odometer so that it says 39,000 miles. And without saying a word, I may have made an assertion. An assertion is a communication of a fact. I may even make an assertion by saying nothing. I may even make an assertion by keeping my mouth shut, because the courts have held that whenever the law requires me to make a disclosure of the existence of a problem, my silence is an assertion that there is no problem to disclose. For example, if the law in a particular state provides that the seller of a house that has termites in it is required to notify the buyer that there are termites in the house, and I sell the house without saying a word about termites, in effect I have said that there are no termites. So there are even times when silence is an assertion, and the general rule is silence is an assertion only when the law imposes some obligation to disclose or to speak. In some jurisdictions, the law goes even further and says silence is an assertion whenever the reasonable person would expect a disclosure to be made. So, if the reasonable person would expect the seller of a house to disclose the existence of termites, then the seller's silence is an assertion that there are no termites. So, a false representation is a false assertion. But not every false assertion is a false representation, because a representation is an assertion of fact. An assertion of fact as opposed to an assertion of opinion. Hey, we all talk about our opinions all the time, and really nobody has a right usually to rely on our opinions. So if I say, looks to me like it's going to rain tomorrow, I may have made an assertion, but I have not made a representation, because a representation is an assertion of fact. Now, yes, a representation is an assertion of fact, but not every assertion of fact is a representation, because A representation is an assertion of fact which is made for the purpose of inducing the plaintiff's reliance. Suppose, for example, that I'm about to go out on a date and I really want to impress my date with how important a person I am, and I say, you see this car that I'm taking you out in tonight? Well, this car has bulletproof glass in it because I'm so important that there are always assassins after me, and I had my car equipped with bulletproof glass. Now, my car really is not equipped with bulletproof glass, but I'm just saying this to impress my date. My neighbor happens to overhear the conversation, and he always wanted a car with bulletproof glass. And he just heard me say that my car has bulletproof glass. So the next day he comes to me, he says, Fins, I want to buy your car. And I say, okay, I'll sell it to you. He buys my car and then finds out the day after that that the glass in it really is not